Good afternoon. Today in the Lucky Trader Lounge, we will have Gutter Wang from the Gutter Cat Gang. Gutter Cat Gang is pretty hyped right now, and so we're going to be talking about the clones, the juices, maybe what's coming up in the future. $ gang. So let's get at it. Welcome. So we have Gutter Wang here, who many of you already know. People in chat are going wild. We got Big Daddy. Everyone wants Wang. So tell us a little about like how you got started with Gutter Cat Gang and why everyone is so excited to see you today.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. I love Lucky Trader and honestly think you guys were one of like the earlier resources and kind of, really NFT native shows that were kind of put together and resources for the community. And I think you guys have done a great job. So, definitely, proud to be up here and hope I can be up here playing more times. But yeah, so I guess I'll give a little background on me first. I got into crypto almost 10 years ago now, back in 2014, and started mining Bitcoin. Eventually moved on to mining Ethereum, and then stopped mining Ethereum about a year and a half ago because I told myself it wasn't going to be profitable anymore with the merge. That never happened, um,
Hmm.
but luckily it gave me some free time to get much deeper into NFTs. And yeah, I mean, I kind of just started in on Top Shot and Zed and fell in love with the community. And then, someone offered me a trade for one of my horses for, these funny looking monkey pictures. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't take that trade, but it definitely piqued my interest and I kind of dove right in and, I found the gang on Mint Day. Obviously, anyone who's been around that long knows there was some FUD. We had to drop a little bit early and there was some FUD in the chat. So I kind of stepped in and offered my help as a moderator, having, some experience in past communities as, a gamer, years ago. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting, anything. But Rick reached out the next day and said, we'd love to have you on as a mod, join the team. And then over the next few weeks, built up, a relationship with the devs and became community manager at the end of June, and have been, ever since.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride, I gotta say, over the last 9-10 months, and never would have thought a year ago that we'd be here today. It's really crazy to think
Yeah.
about, but not, just so exciting nonetheless, and amazing to see, and so inspiring for us to keep our vision going, and just really see how far we can take this.
Yeah. And I do. This is one of those mints that I remembered very. As you mentioned, the early thing. Heading into the mint, it was one of the more hyped mints. It was, the Bored Ape Yacht Club had already minted. I'm trying to think of some others that might have minted in that time
So
frame. Were you guys
here's
before Cool Cats?
Yeah, so we were a few weeks before Cool Cats, but a
Hmm.
good comparison. So Super Yetis dropped the same day as us.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to compare the two, I think I'd side with the Gutter Cats of those two.
And that's just a notable one that I give up as an
Yeah.
example because it was the same day and everyone remembers Yetis.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely remembered it because it was right after Bored Apes and they decided to do their flat structure.
Hmm.
Gutter Cats was kind of like the next one following a similar path, except there was only 3,000 of them. So that was like the really cool part behind it. So then um, you guys had the 3,000 of them. You were going with that for a little while and then decided to expand a little. So can you talk a little about how the decision, maybe not as much for the rats, the companion rats, but then to expand all the way out into 4 species?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's no secret that airdrops were a big game changer when Meebits happened, and then the Kennel Club. But we thought it would play to our strengths, frankly, to expand the community from 3,000 a bit and keep while still keeping it exclusive. 6,000 for the initial rat drop. 6,000 was pretty exclusive still at the time, and to do a profile picture was most important to us to really kind of bring the gang together and instill a sense of community, because we felt that, Kennel Club, while, fantastic, wasn't a great profile picture, and I think a lot of the community can agree on that sentiment. And Meebits are the same thing. I think, when in Sandbox is a whole different story, as they're, 3D voxelized, rigged, everything. But for a Twitter profile picture, which is, a lot of the use case, especially back then at the time, that was, kind of a no-brainer to us. So we expanded to that, and the rats, obviously were free claim for cat owners. Went very, very, very well. And then, as the space kind of blew up in August, and we had tons and tons and tons of more people come in, we went from 100,000 wallets when we dropped the project, in interacting with NFTs, to, 4, 5, 600,000 over the course of a few months. Um, you know, we really started to think to ourselves, 6,000 is going to be too small, in all honesty.
Yeah.
And we started, over the summer, crafting plans, obviously, to further expand, and solidified them in August, doing our, you know, pigeon and dog drop in September. We loved the mint pass model. We had experimented with, obviously burn and redeem mechanics on some of our merch prior, and we're ready to, take it, I guess, put it on the full stage, for this drop. And we were really, really, really happy, with the community engagement, and how kind of everything formed around, and the ecosystem kind of developed itself. I think the best way to put it is, a lot of projects, when they do these airdrops or this segmentation, there's almost, I don't want to say animosity, but there's almost some, you know, dislike, maybe,
Yeah.
between, the tiers or layers. And I think that's just something that doesn't happen in the gang. And it's really unique, because we are really one big gang family. And gang is gang. And that's something that, everyone preaches and everyone understands. There's never, you know, any doubt of that. And I think that's something really unique and really cool that we were, able to build, as well as, opening up a whole world of storytelling and lore capabilities and possibilities with, a very, very unique setup. And a cool thing that I don't think is mentioned enough, if you come from, collecting physical items and cards and stuff, sets and collections and stuff like that are a big deal. And we kind of played that angle of, being able to build your own set, or, kind of pair your collection how you might wish. Maybe you want to do, buy a certain trait, or buy a certain fur or background color, or you want to match as many features as possible, or you want to build, kind of like lore around where, the rat is your bodyguard for your cat, and the pigeon is like, the basketball. I don't know. You can
Yeah,
really
I
kind
haven't
of
really thought of that
dig in.
side to the sets. I've
Yeah.
seen people that, I'm gonna get all the golds, I'm gonna get all the
Mhm.
ones with crowns and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. It's a unique thing, to the gang, and I think that's also a really cool thing that a lot of projects don't necessarily have.
yeah, and it's always seemed like a very tight knit community, and
Hmm.
some of that is due to the smaller side of it. I know, like at one point in time, this is like way back when it was less common, but I think I remember gutter cats. This is before the rats started, I believe, too. Were one of the first to have over 50% holder count,
Yes,
where part of that was with the smaller amount, but a lot of people only have one or two, maybe,
for sure. Yeah.
versus some of
So
these other big collections that people can have 20 of them, 50 of, even with bored apes, that happens.
yeah, that was something that was really unique to us as well, especially, off the drop. I think a lot of people were unprepared because it was early, and there was, obviously 3,000 supply there. There really aren't a lot of whales. The largest owner of cats owns like 39 cats, I think. And they have since, day one. It's really like, it's difficult to become a whale in the project, and I think that helps lead to that, really tight community bond. And like you said, we were the second project behind Bored Apes to cross 50% unique ownership. And all of our species today, cats, rats, dogs, pigeons, each of them have over 60% unique ownership.
Yeah.
Dogs and pigeons are, getting closer to 70, actually, in the mid 60s. So really, really crazy to think about. Um, it really is, I think it's lent itself from that original tight, 3,000 group. But even as we've expanded out now, and with the clones to, or juices, I should say, right now, with 20,000 more supply there. And, as we approach 8, 9,000 unique holders, in the community, it still feels, so tight knit. And that, the experience in the Discord and on like Gutter Twitter, I guess I'll call it, because like how the algorithm kind of structures things, it's really unlike any other community, I think.
Yeah. And I think the entry point is still reasonable enough where you see a lot of people have, like, you can't just have one. A lot of people that have
Mhm.
a cat also have to have all three of the other ones. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's a
It's one
two
of
in.
those things where people, it not like addicted in a way, but a lot of times you'll see people have the full sets or nothing. It's almost like one or the other, which is kind of cool. But that's where the clones come in, and I guess we could start talking about that a little bit. So obviously, we just saw the gutter juice drop, and what was basically the vision behind this? Because there was 16,000 in the Dutch auction, and then the current holders also each got airdropped one.
Yeah, so there was a lot. We put a lot of thought into this. We spent months, collecting data and going over everything to kind of one decide, obviously pricing and drop structure and everything like that, and two, supply. Um, we also have to take into account our future plans and our roadmap, and where we want it to be. But our real goal was to, like you were saying, you just mentioned about the entry point. Um, we wanted to expand the gang. We wanted to give a fair way for anyone who was interested in joining the gang to join the gang. That's one of the reasons we chose not to do all this whitelist stuff, because you know a lot of the time that just kind of ends up in this rich get richer cycle, and a lot of the whitelisting game is flipping, and that's not really what we were interested in. We wanted to add 3 to 4 thousand long term real good unique holders to the gang, and we didn't want to discriminate against people who may only have point 0.1 in their wallet, because everyone came from that somewhere. You know what I mean? Back
Mhm.
in last summer, a lot of us were like that, and we get it, and we wanted to kind of create a collection that could serve as a taste of the gang life, is kind of how I've been describing it. Like you were saying about the rest of the species. Once you get one species, you jump in and you buy a full set. It's
Yeah.
almost kind of addicting. Um, but we're really, really, really confident in the experience we've created, and the brand we've built, and our future plans. And we are so confident that we think once anyone gets that taste, once they get their dip their toes in the pool, that they'll never want to leave and they'll dive fully in. So that was what clones were to us. They were a way to give everyone, or as many people as possible, a way into the gang, a way to experience some of the benefits, and obviously the community itself, which we think is one of our biggest strong suits. And it obviously turned out, I think, fantastically, and better than we could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think is a little different with this project versus the others is there's a decent amount of overlap with Bored Ape holders,
Hmm.
but you'll notice someone that owns a Bored Ape and a Gutter Cat uses the Gutter Cat as their profile picture still. So,
Hmm.
like, I think that speaks volumes as well. And then let's talk about a little of the juice here, because right now it's split out into the 4 species. And basically, if you minted, you're already up, like it's already up. So I think the response from the community and the outside community has been pretty strong. I've seen some statistics about a lot of the gutter juice is from new people, so that part seems to have worked. But
Hmm.
now that they have the juice, this is actually something funny I've seen. I think yesterday Seth Green made a comment on the original
Yeah.
post asking like, when am I going to get my clone? So what's this next step now that people have their juice?
Yeah. So um, we're going to open the clone machine basically. And that will be, you'll go on our site. It'll be a DApp, very similar to the minting page. You'll be able to I guess, put the juice in the machine, but essentially just click and select what you want. And then whether or not you want to use that juice with an OG species or not, you have the option to use it on its own and get random traits, or use it based off of an OG species and get, the clone version of the traits. So you have the optionality there. Obviously, each OG species, excuse me, can only be used one time with a vial, and each vial itself can only be used one time because they get burned after use. Um, but yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. You can also only use I should say you can also only use like a cat vial with a cat. You can't use the cat vial on the dog or, anything else, for example. But yeah, so this is all going to come together before the end of the month. We're going to do the
Mm,
release. We haven't released the exact date yet, but expect news really, really soon on that.
yeah.
We're going to do something a little different than people are expecting, I think, for this kind of release of the clone machine and for how it's going to open. But I think people are going to like it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I know some community members are planning, like a reveal party on Spaces with a bunch like a bunch of the top 50 cats and
Yeah.
a bunch of super rare and cool traits. So that'll be really cool to see. Some of the one of ones, one of threes, and stuff get their own. Obviously one of one or one of three clone if they're going to use the juice on that respective species. So I think that'll be really fun, and I think once everyone gets to see the art. Obviously, we've dropped some teasers that the community has loved, but once everyone gets to see their own clone and the art behind it, and rep it as their profile picture on Twitter, I think we're just going to take over Twitter for a week straight.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
And then, so I guess like the mechanic of it that I wasn't fully sure on, um, if someone doesn't already have one of the species,
Hmm.
then that creates a new NFT. But if someone does have the species, do they then have two, a gutter and a clone version of the
Yeah.
same gutter?
Yeah, so your OG species, if you choose to use it, will not get burned. Only the vial itself, only the juice will get burned. And then if you want to use it on your own without, if you want to use a cat vial on its own without an OG cat, you can it'll burn the cat vial and you'll get a cat clone.
Yeah. So at most, it's adding the 16,000
Well, yeah,
basically.
so for
It's fresh.
every juice that gets burned, one clone will be added. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it won't. I mean, it's probably going to take a while. Like if you look at mint passes, for example, we still have, I think like 100 something left
Mm,
that haven't been burned between dogs and pigeons. I think but like there's like 5 or 6 left for sale on the market total. Like something crazy. I don't even think you can buy
yeah.
a dog anymore mint pass, but yeah, every time. So when that like 28, we start at 28K. Once it opens, someone burns a clone. The vial number will go down to 27,999. Clone collection will start at one, and so forth until they're all burned, and you can wait as long as you want. You want to wait 20 years? Go ahead. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it'll be an indefinite burn period, just like the dog and pigeon mint passes are.
So there's gonna be a lot of game theory in that. We've seen it
Hmm.
with some other projects. I think the serum for Bored Apes and then the vials for Clonex are two of the more notable ones. So there is going to be some game theory to holding it as the vial as well. It is cool. I did notice that when it shifted, because originally when it was minted, you didn't know which species it was going
Hmm.
to be,
Yep.
but when it created, now we see a little separation as far as the floors, as I think they should be.
Hmm.
But do you envision, like, as these start going in, and maybe people really like the look of, say, the cloned version of a pigeon more than the rat, or just in general, maybe they prefer you. Would you notice them preferring the clone version versus the OG? Because some people prefer mutant apes over the OG apes. I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of what the clone side looks, but do you think that that's potential?
Yeah, I mean, so personally, I mean, I was, if I'm being completely honest, I've said this on, Space before. I was almost a little worried with how good the art looks because it is so, so, so freaking cool. Um, and I really think people are going to love them. Like you're saying, that there's a little bit of segmentation between the different species, and I think um, there's obviously premium for cats because obviously they're kind of the namesake of the project, as well as the
Yeah.
fact that the OG species are more expensive themselves, and cat owners might want multiple vials, and there's only so many of them. So there's only 7,000 cat vials, for example, and there's 3,000 cats, all of whom are going to want, at least one, maybe two. And if every cat owner wants two, there's only 1,000 left for the public. So definitely gets interesting. And then there's also something to consider. We kind of teased this and hinted at it. Um, but there's also going to be the possibility to upgrade your clone with gang token in the future. So we haven't really revealed a ton of mechanics behind how that's going to work, but it's definitely something that I think more people should take into account and think about and consider how we might go about that, because it's definitely going to have an impact. And I think it's a really unique mechanic to our collection and how it's going to figure forward into our roadmap and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure how much you wanted to get into game token and all, but it seems like there's at least long term, the clones are going to play a little bit of a different role, at least in the ecosystem. Um, are is the vision that the clones are going to be basically considered equal to the current other species outside of cat, or are they going to have different roles in the whole ecosystem?
So yeah, so they have a different role, below the other species, but they also play a very important role, I will say. I can't reveal too much, but I
Mhm.
basically, I mean, we gave a decent explainer on our mid page. Basically, you'll get access to events, some merch. Obviously, you're part of the gang. You'll be able to participate in some of the P2E games that we have coming out. So you'll be able to earn gang token, just not, the species and the cats will emit it natively, but the actual clones themselves, they won't, get that. They'll have to participate in the P2E games to, get gang. But that kind of creates a cycle,
Yeah,
um, for these new users to kind of want to build up. We really want to create paths for people to be able to build their collection from clone all the way up to OG cat full set level, and kind of incentivize people along that route. So that's really what we're trying to build.
yeah, sort of keeping people who were OGs, not necessarily like rewarding them, but keeping that OG status in a way,
Mhm.
right? But I think that's somewhat important, and that's the beauty of starting at such a small supply with the 3,000 is you then have the ability to expand a lot more than some of these other projects that they start with 10K, then they add 20K, and then it's like, well, if you're going to add more, and then it just adds up very quickly.
Exactly.
So what do you think as far as you guys obviously had put out the roadmap 2.0
Mhm.
earlier in the year? Do you find that so far so good, like you've been consistently on that path, because we're almost here at the end of quarter one?
Yeah, so we're actually really happy with our progress. Clones, we initially didn't think we'd be able to get them out this early, frankly. But we were initially planning a tiny bit later, but we were happy that we could move it to a little bit more forward, because we do have a lot of fun plans for the summer and wanted to make sure that our community had expanded prior to that. We thought it was better. Um, and in terms of roadmap activations, I think we're right on target for basically everything in this summer, especially is going to be a really really big one for the gang, and NFTs as a whole. I think generally
Yeah,
speaking, we're going to have a great summer. But I think the gang is really going to leave its mark this summer and have some huge events, like some of the stuff we have planned with Puma, which we haven't even begun to talk about on here yet.
yeah,
The partnership with them, and some of the stuff we have with Gutter Athletes and Gutter Records. There's just so much. Um, but yeah, I mean, I really think these next 6 months are going to be a game changer for us and put our son on the map on a lot of people's radars. That might not might not have acknowledged us yet, or not want to have acknowledged us yet because we left a bad taste in their mouth from the initial drop.
yeah,
I know some people still are upset that we dropped early, but we've been changing people's minds since day one,
yeah.
and we're not going anywhere, and we're happy to continue doing so.
Yeah, I use Gutter Cat as an example when people talk about um, when they try to FUD mints upon the minting, because it was one of the first examples of a somewhat bumpy mint
Hmm.
that ended up quickly just flipping back on itself, and everyone was pretty happy about having them, and how quickly people can just forget how the mint went down a week later, especially if the team starts building and hitting on the next pieces of the roadmap. So I think that's what has sort of been a big part of Gutter Cat
Mhm.
is since that initial minting, it seems like you guys have been hitting on a lot of other pieces. Let's talk about the Puma for a little bit because I know you'd wanted to mention this. And they came out. There wasn't a ton of information on it. I'm not sure how much information you could share, but they basically confirmed that they have a partnership with you now. So can you
Yeah.
talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, so we had them up on our town hall at the beginning of March. We had, Ivan, who's one of the reps for Puma, and we spoke a bit about, the partnership. So, we have a few main things that I can talk about right now. So, number 1 is gonna be, obviously, a clothing/sneaker collab, a line in that way, and I'm not allowed to give details yet on that, but that I'm really, really, really excited for. Obviously, Puma's a big, big brand in the shoe game, especially in terms of basketball. I'm a big basketball fan myself, and I think, there's some stuff that basketball fans are really going to like coming up in regards to, the shoes and clothing selection. Um, but one of the bigger things we're actually working on that I might be most excited about for this summer is we are partnering with Puma to sponsor a team for um, there's a tournament every summer that ESPN hosts a basketball tournament 3-on-3 for $1 million prize. And us and Puma are going to be sponsoring a team together. They're going to wear, Gutter Cat jerseys, nationally televised airtime and everything. So it's going to be really, really cool to see that, obviously, and hopefully the team does well. The GM is a community member, and there's going to be some opportunities for community led input, probably here in the next month or two, maybe. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited for it. Honestly, I think that's going to be
Yeah.
a really, really big moment for us. Um, the tournament's just really fun and really cool, and kind of funny. It's not your traditional 5v5, it's 3v3, a little
Yeah.
quicker ball. And it's a really cool experience over, a couple months. Um, that I'm really excited for, as well as, Puma bought their cat, they named it Kevin. Um,
That's
but
funny.
Kevin will be, a online and in-person marketing and brand ambassador
Yeah.
for Puma as well, which will be really cool to see. And that's all I'm allowed to reveal right now. But there's a lot more coming. We have 6 to 8 months of stuff planned with Puma, and hopefully, we're looking to make this a very long term partnership and work with them. Well into the future, past a year, 2 years even.
Yeah.
As well as we have some other streetwear merch kind of hype beast partnerships coming up. One in the next month, I'll say, um, in Chicago with a Chicago-based streetwear brand. And we'll have, an IRL event that I've kind of hinted at there, like a pop-up almost. That'll happen. I'm not allowed to say when yet, but that'll happen sometime in April. And then another big merch collab that my New York City boys will love with a big New York City-based brand coming, probably early summer. But yeah, really excited. And yeah, I can't wait. Honestly, we're
Yeah.
firing at all cylinders. And we got everything going. Gang, these partnerships, P to E, clone reveal. It's definitely, a really exciting time for us.
Yeah, and I really like what Puma's doing where they're like, we're gonna enter the NFT space, but we're going to attach ourselves to all the cat brands, but like
Mhm,
the good ones. And it's been kind of cool to see them do that. And obviously they had the other ones with Cool Cats and Cat Vodka, but it's cool to hear that they've already been planning out these events with you guys because I think one thing people like to see is the consistency of things happening within
mhm,
a team. And not just oh Puma bought a gutter cat because that's something that's been happening with like board apes too where it just gets announced that someone bought one and like that's the headline, but the fact that they're actually going to be working with you and be doing stuff and really putting their brand attached to it is a really cool feature to it as well. So if someone say has just the gutter clone or the juice, would they still be able to participate? Like, go the people that maybe are able to go to these events.
Yes,
Um,
of course. Gang is gang.
yeah,
So yeah, the clones and or even juices for right now, I'll call them, will absolutely, be able to come to the events. Will be, able to get some of the benefits that I can't reveal yet,
yeah,
in regards to some of the partnerships and they are a different tier, but they're still, they're still gang members, and we want to give them a taste of the gang
mm,
life. They're not going to natively emit gang. They might not get, certain airdrops or something, that are reserved for the OG species, but they definitely will play a large part in the ecosystem and kind of some of our big roadmap activations moving forward. They definitely are pretty critical for.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people like to see, especially if they're buying in at a lower price point. That it is kind of considered not all of the same rewards, but they're still getting something. And who knows? Maybe it'll. We saw with this ape coin drop that just happened that they're starting to do stuff with 25 ape, and you can buy into this or that.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
maybe, gang, if you have gang tokens, you can then buy a ticket to one of these games and you go watch the game or you go to these events. So what you had mentioned to me before the show started. So what other events do you guys plan on going to, whether it's something like an NFT NYC or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have plans, for technically quarterly events is what we plan to do yearly. First quarter is going to be a little bit off schedule, slightly delayed. That first quarter event will
Yeah.
be in April instead. Um, and then we're obviously be at NFT NYC. We have big plans. That New York brand I mentioned prior, may or may not be involved with some of our NFT NYC plans. We're going to be at GutterCon in Vegas. We're confirming dates, but it's looking like September. Will be GutterCon at Vegas, and then Art Basel as well. We're going to do so. Those will be our four main big events for the year, as well as we'll continue to sponsor these community-led meetups around the globe. Like for example, in last month in the middle of February, there was a big one comparatively big for a community-led meetup at Two Bit Circus in LA. Um, I want to say it was the 19th of February, but I can't remember exactly.
Mm.
There were about 100 people that showed up. Really cool. It's all Two Bit Circus is kind of like almost like a Dave and Buster's kind of, but like an more adult version. And there's like escape rooms and a bunch of different stuff there. So gang had a great time. That was awesome to see. And we love, helping community members with the financial backing and support for these to do these little events for our community, around the world, and take proposals, from the community to do them. So we have some more in the pipeline as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, do you guys have any plans collabing with any other NFT projects? Maybe just in general. I know there's some other teams that I've noticed have been grouping together for some of the stuff.
Yeah, so we have. I mean, the big one that we like to partner with is Metaverse. We one of our key core interests honestly is we want to build a product that you can that is a true metaverse identity and that is interoperable, so we try and partner with as many metaverses as possible and provide all the assets required for you to enjoy your avatar in whatever metaverse of choice you want. So we provide voxelized assets for Sandbox. We provide 3D rigged models for House of Kiba from the House of Kiba metaverse, which can be used in Somnium Space 2, for example, and even ported over at lower res to Decentraland if you want to do a little work. We just announced a partnership on the last town hall with Wilder World, which is a pretty big metaverse, doing like their 5D stuff, and we'll have a gang hideout, like Clubhouse in Miami, they're calling it, where we can hang out. We definitely want to make sure that you can use it wherever you want to use it, and you can be your cat or whatever your dog, pigeon, rat, whatever your identity is, um, anywhere, and kind of keep that line across different metaverses. So that's really important that we partner with those kind of NFT projects to make sure that our users can get access, and we want to set up clubhouses or home bases and stuff like that. Um, Other than that, we are generally careful. I'll say this about all our partnerships, not just NFT projects. We are careful about who we partner with, and we like to partner strategically
Yeah.
with projects that we feel are in line with our brand or align with our vision. or values. And there are some NFT projects that we've been speaking to, and I won't say much more than that, but
Yeah.
there's definitely some synergies we see in the space, but we definitely do shy more away from that than a lot of projects, I will say. And it's not, because we, don't love the space and love the community. We love doing things with smaller things with our projects and stuff like that. But in terms of when we do big activations or big partnerships like this, we like to keep it very on brand, because at the end of the day, we believe that we're building an international brand. And, it's very, very important to us to kind of cultivate the right culture around the brand and in our community. And that, is going to be key, we think, to really reaching that next level of international brand. So we are careful about, everything we do.
Yeah. And then let's talk about merch a little bit, because I know initially when it was just cats, you guys did a merch drop. Now there's going to be merch on this next setting of the roadmap 2.0, and now you're going to have that many more people. So what do you think is going to be a little different with this now second version of merch, or is this even the third version? But what do you envision with this next merch drop? How it's a little different from others?
Yeah, so we've always experimented with merch and how we do it, and we're collectors ourselves of shoes and clothes and everything. So we have always tried to kind of be on the cutting edge. Our merch 1.0 drop last early July was a NFT. So you went on our site, minted the NFT, and you held it in your OpenSea account. And the NFT represented a bundle of a hat, a sweatshirt, and a T-shirt. And then each one you minted, when you minted it, you could put in your size, which style you want, tie dye, black, whether it was medium, large on the sweatshirt, the shirt, everything. And all of that was baked into the metadata for the actual NFT. So you can go on OpenSea still to this day, buy one. There's, quantities are dwindling in NFT version. And then you can go redeem it on our site. It gets burned, the NFT, and we'll ship it anywhere in the world free of charge. So that was, a really cool mechanic that we started working on. And just like all the other stuff we do, the burn is open indefinitely. Then merch 2.0, we tried both ways. So we did, the Shopify storefront where you can pay credit, debit, or an ETH for, a lot of the clothing. And then we also released the special edition Bitcoin and ETH hat for our cat holders and our full set holders to purchase and mint. And then those had the same burn mechanic. And then we did our Diamond Supply drop, which was on Diamond Supply's website and open to everyone, and also had some shopping avenues in person at the Art Basel event. So we've definitely done a lot of different mechanics for merch. We have one coming up that will be much more like the Diamond Supply mechanic, which is the next one, kind of with the Chicago brand. And then merch 3.0 will be with that big New York brand I kind of mentioned. And we're working on some really cool mechanics, coming from a collector perspective. Um, I can't, I'm really not allowed to share more, but I'm really, really excited for if we can get that done and how it's looking to be. Um, that's going to be really game changing, I think, kind of bridging the gap between IRL and NFTs.
Yeah. And I think that just the way that you guys, even just you talking to me now, like you're not trying to give too much away either, because you don't want to overpromise either.
Mhm.
Like we see that happen with a lot of these projects that are out there, and you're not trying to do too many things at once either. But I've been one who's been collecting more of these, the, as I'm calling them, like the physical versions of my NFTs, and
Mhm.
whether that's merch or just like the Doodles did that thing with their figure, and I'm trying to now. I'm all of a sudden becoming like a collector of items just because I own these NFTs, and I think that adds a little more of the sentimental value. Like if you have a gutter cat uh, on a shirt, you're less likely to sell that gutter
Sell
cat,
that. Yeah,
and
for
you're
sure.
you're going to be connected to it, even if it's not yours. Just owning it is enough. I think that it just means you feel part of that community, which is cool too. I know that people always, you see those tweets all the time where people go and they're like, "Oh, I wore this, let's say, gutter cat hoodie onto a plane, and no one said anything about it." Um, So
Still
people in
early.
chat are asking for sneak peeks. I'm not sure if you're allowed to give any sneak peeks. Have any of them been shown at all before for the
Yeah,
merch?
so we've dropped a few.
Let me see if I
We've
can pull that
dropped.
up.
Yeah, if you go, we actually there's a GIF on our, I think on our pinned tweet. There should be one, honestly, of some that we excuse me, some that we've dropped. Um, but yeah, I'm not allowed to give any right now. There will be some. Everyone in chat's gonna hate me for this, but there will be some very very soon. Um, my favorite word, but yeah, yeah. There you go.
Here are the
There's
clones, which I
yeah.
mean, as you mentioned, like
The art's
whew,
incredible. I mean, really
these
so
do look
sick.
pretty cool. And just so people know, like at current time, the floor on these are point 0.3, and that's for the rat and pigeon. The other ones are a little higher, but I mean,
I
this
mean,
is
even for
pretty
point
cool.
three, like at 0.18, I wrote a tweet. I said, I at 0.18 is still the biggest steal in NFTs. I drank more alcohol than that worth at the Art Basel open bar, you know,
Yeah.
over the 3 days there.
Yeah, people spend more than that on, random stuff or
For
rug
sure.
stuff as well. But yeah, that's what I think is really cool about this is if you already have your own, it's a little different from some of the other ones. Like the Board 8 Mutants, you could kind of figure out what it was gonna look like because of like the traits that you had.
Mhm.
And I think it'll be cool once this does go live and people start seeing, oh, I own XYZ trait. This is what it then is going to look like. I think people will start getting really excited for it. And who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe we'll see some big Twitch streams, kind of like what they've been doing with some of the serums, where people go in and transform their NFT.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be excited that, a lot of the floor traits don't necessarily look like floor traits, when you put them in clone version.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, like if you look at the fish scale one, I mean that fish scale is
Yeah.
not the rarest trait in our collection, not by a long shot. But I that's one of my personal favorites. I think that looks so 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 sick. So I think a lot of people are going to be really 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 excited with what they end up with, and everyone's profile picture on reveal is going to be their clone, and
Yeah.
I can't wait. We'll have some more teasers. We have a plan to release some more, not just pictures of them, but also some more. I'll call it material um,
Hmm.
in the coming days and leading up to this release, which will be before the end of the month, like I said. So definitely stay tuned. I mean, I love that pigeon one too. The pigeon one I just see keep coming up is so sick,
Yeah.
with all the different furs from every different trait before all melded into one. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited, and I know the community's been waiting patiently, um, and it's almost here. I promise, guys. It's going to be really really sick.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you guys have done, which I do like to see when projects have done this. We talked about airdrops a little earlier, but you guys have done some collabs with other artists in the space.
Hmm.
I brought up another one of these pigeons that I thought looked pretty cool. But yeah, you guys have done a lot of these. I think you did one with Pop Wonder.
That was one of the
You
first ones we did.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of these collabs with artists. Do you envision doing more of these now that you are expanding on the species?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually have plans to switch how we're going to do the gutter art airdrops. Currently, for the last few months, we've done them as polygon airdrops to everyone, and just minted the amount that were eligible to receive it, and then sent it out airdrop. We've had some, we've collected feedback on that, and honestly, a lot of the community seems to prefer the new method, which is going to be you're going to go on the site, and if you want it, it'll be free to claim, or some of them might be, pay with gang. We'll never charge ETH for these ever. It'll always be, maybe we'll do some different mechanics depending on what the artist is feeling, ranked auction, open editions, one of ones, one of tens, give some flexibility to the artist, and then do them as free to claim or paid in gang on the ETH mainnet, so that they obviously, collectors prefer ETH mainnet, and, it holds value a little better. But also, the window to open to mint them will only be open, say, a week or something, so you won't be able to claim it after that. And instead of minting 3,000, one for every cat, there might only be 500 that get claimed in that week, and now total supply on that piece is 500 instead of 3,000. So that'll be kind of cool to see what happens.
Yeah. And then we have a comment in here about the Gutter Records that I know you mentioned a little earlier. I showed on the screen a Snoop Dogg tweet about him getting one of the Gutter dogs. Is there anything more that you could tell us about Gutter Records?
So what I can tell you is that our plan is that we really want to push NFT technology to the forefront of hip hop and music culture. We feel that our brand aligns really really strongly with that kind of culture and that space, and that we're a perfect fit for it. And we can honestly serve as a fantastic intermediary between artists and the community that really wants to listen to their music, and kind of help cut out that middleman by providing not just execution and technical knowledge of contracts and doing releases and drops and all this stuff, but also having that community already formed and built and interested. This is the perfect demographic for an artist to target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can work together and do some really really cool shit for the gang. So I can't reveal any plans there yet, but this summer and this fall is going to be really, really cool in terms of what we got coming for Gutter Records and some of the artists we want to bring on, and our first, mixtape or drops, I guess, under Gutter Records.
Yeah, and I think one benefit that you guys have from being one of the earlier projects in the space, and you've had time to build up a lot of this, the connections and being in the different events, and just having that overlap with some of the other project owners, where someone like Snoop Dogg sees you guys and like
Hmm.
recognizes uh, Gutter Cats. I mean, I don't want to say that he's a lock or anything to be a part of this, but he has seemed to be a big piece into NFT culture since he's dove in. Like he likes to do this type of stuff. So I think it's really cool when artists from the music side get into NFTs, because I think it really appeals to them. I've had a couple artists on the streams before, and
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense. I think the overlap of musicians getting into the space, because it's another form of artwork and it's a way of removing that middleman. So I think the idea of NFTs really appeal to them. So that's where I think something like Gutter Records comes in really strong. Now what I'm showing on screen here is from that House of Kiba. Do you guys have a direct partnership with House of Kiba?
Yep. So we've been partnered. We're actually partnered with both Sandbox and House of Kiba since June of last year.
Mm,
House of Kiba is doing all of our 3D rigged, high def models, and not the voxelized ones. Those are for the Sandbox. Those are being done by Blaze Games. But yeah, so we actually have a whole partnership with them, and then in their, in their Kibaverse, this is the GCG mansion that we're looking at right now, kind of like a clubhouse hangout. This is one of the teaser videos of it, as you can see. Super, super, super high res, really cool looking, awesome kind of place to hang out, and expect it to be packed with gang members.
yeah.
When we get into the metaverse.
Yeah, and it's been cool seeing all of the different like community members who are coming out and doing their fan art, or
Hmm.
stuff like this, even where people are envisioning sort of that, in a sense, lore that they're thinking of it. And you guys have the theme obviously of being in the gutter, but also like something like this, like still fancy and high end at the same time, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was there anything that we didn't talk about with the clones that I might have missed, or did we pretty much talk about everything that we were
Um,
planning to?
I think we covered, we talked about the possible upgrading to, DNA 2 and 3 that we kind of hinted at in the last teaser.
Yeah,
I said obviously they'll be done, the release will be done before the end of the month. And oh, I can't say that yet.
yeah.
Um,
I could pull up the tweet that I was this tweet. I feel like this is
Yeah, that's one of the
what we were
explainers.
sort of talking about. Yeah,
That gives a really good kind of overview of everything kind of that we discussed on the clones. I mean, if anyone has any, questions about specifics on the mechanics or anything like that that I can answer, I'm happy to do so.
yeah.
Um,
So right now, all of them are DNA one.
mhm,
Is that right?
yep.
So I guess we could just quickly go over the how many different of the DNA will there be? How easily, I guess, is it going to be for someone who maybe doesn't have any of the OG species? Is it only for the OG species, or can anyone upgrade those DNA?
So yeah, so anyone will be able to with gang. Um, I can't give more mechanics on how they do it exactly
Yeah,
and what and how much is required, kind of like that. But I can say there will be DNA one, two, and three. Um, Obviously, and due to the fact that they will be higher tiers, there'll be different rarities, and obviously, more levels of gang will be required. But I can't reveal how much exactly yet. Just know that DNA 2 will be significantly harder to acquire than DNA 1, and DNA 3 will be much, much, much harder to acquire than either of them.
yeah, and that's good. A good way to do it as well. I know, obviously, with the board apes, there's I don't really know how many off the top of my head, but there's significantly less of their M3s than the
Yeah,
M1
there's
and
I want to say
M2.
13,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
less,
it's
maybe like
it's
10.
somewhere in that range. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 20 or less for sure. And I think that's good where you can have like the levels to it.
Mhm.
And as we were talking about earlier, it adds to game theory. Do you level yours up? Do you hold it? Do you transform it right away? And that's obviously something that I'm assuming, as you mentioned, you're not saying it yet, but I'm assuming that's going to come out with one of these upcoming announcements before people start changing the clones.
I can't say yet because
Okay.
that may or may not give away some of the mechanics of how they work,
Okay.
but there
That's
will be
fine.
more information soon, yes. Um, Basically, I mean, it'll be interesting to see because, like you kind of mentioned with the mutants, with the M3s, something that I was personally expecting was, when they said mutants were getting the allocation for ApeCoin, obviously, I expected, frankly, there to be a difference in allocation for M2, M1, and M3. I was surprised to see that there was not. I understand why they didn't make that, distinction. Um, but I'm curious to see then how M1, M2, M3 comes into play down the line on their
Mm,
roadmap, if at all, or if it's not just pure rarity.
yeah.
For us, we do have plans to actually make it, matter a little more than just rarity. Um, so yeah, I definitely think there's a bit more to it in our case. And I
Yeah.
mean, not saying there's not for apes. I have no clue to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm never put anything past them.
Yeah. And I think you're right. As of now, it's just a rarity thing. Um, but obviously it's priced in if there is going to be differences still, because
Mhm.
they are
Definitely,
layered by the
definitely
prices.
priced in.
So yeah. So
1,500 each for an M3 serum, I think is priced in.
oh man, yeah, some of those things are getting wild now. But yeah, if anyone has a question in chat, let us know now. We're coming up close to an hour here, so gonna be wrapping up soon. But yeah, I think another piece that I wanted to ask you about a little bit, because I know you're trying not to give too much of this away on the future roadmap, um, but is there anything that we can expect from you guys that maybe hasn't been done yet from other projects? Because a lot of these things that come out on separate projects, like, just looks the same or is exactly the same as one of these others. Do you guys have any plans, at least as of now, for something that I don't want to say is just gonna like blow our minds, but um, something that you guys are trying to do that has just never been done?
So the way that we are planning on structuring our PDE environment, I'll call it, it's not just one thing. It's not one game. Like you'll notice that we use the word PDE games. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't fully wrapping their head around what we mean by that and how
Mm,
the direction we want to take this in. and how what foundation we're trying to build with gang wars and gang token and the PDE games section of our roadmap, honestly. And I think it definitely is something that's never been tried by a profile picture before.
Hmm.
Um, it'll be interesting to see if someone else kind of does something similar. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a little different and unique, as well as we have plans in terms of partnerships, athletes, celebrities, artists, obviously Gutter Records, Gutter Gaming, Gutter Athletes, Gutter Kicks. All of these kind of tie in ways down the line that are not to be expected. There's some big things that we've been working on that no NFT project is concerned. I mean, like, I'm talking about signing, athletes. I'm talking
Hmm.
about, the possibility of, where we could go in esports down the line.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we are working on that, I think a lot of the NFT space hasn't even begun to consider yet.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I appreciate you hopping on. I know we've been going back and forth for a few weeks now trying to set up a time here, so I'm glad that we were able to have
Yep.
you on. And I want to say that it's potentially the perfect timing. Like you guys have been all over Twitter today. I'm just
Hmm.
seeing like everyone's all excited about gutter cats right now, and like I said, I think the gutter juice specifically just it came out pretty well, like success, I'd say. And everyone seems very happy about being part of Gang Gang. So is there anything else that you wanted to plug while I had you on?
Um,
It
no,
can
I
even
don't.
just be your Twitter or something.
Yeah, I mean, follow me on Twitter. I think it's going to be in the description if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if not, at Clamseth with a Z, Clams with a Z. That's me. You'll see it, probably the alien cat, not this one, but yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm a great resource for all things gang. You can DM me, and I'll try and get to it, or just hop in our Discord. I'm always in the Discord. Tag me, make a support ticket if you need help, anything. Our Discord's super friendly. The mods and myself are happy to answer any questions you might have. I know it's kind of a complex ecosystem with all these parts, but I promise you, if you are interested and you want to jump in, it is not the wrong choice. It is definitely where you want to be, and it's such a cool group of people and such a cool community to hang out in. So stay tuned for this next upcoming days here are going to be really big for the gang, I think. The clones will be dropping before the end of the month, and get ready because we're going to take over Twitter once people see this art.
Oh yeah, yeah, and obviously tomorrow gonna be Catter Day. Every
Exactly.
week has a Catter Day. So I think based on what's been happening today, like there's gonna be a lot of people talking about Catter Day tomorrow, and obviously
Hmm.
whenever these announcements come out, people are excited to see how their clones come out. Um, I'm excited to see it personally as well. So definitely going to be following that. And like you said, like on Twitter, hopefully it is all over Twitter and we're able to see it and people are excited about how it comes out. And I think based on those little teasers that we were looking, I think people will be pretty happy, especially if they got in at this like point 0.2 level or whatever. Like those things are great and being part of this great community. So excited to see where that goes, and hopefully maybe down the road in a couple months from now we'll be able to check in again with you guys, potentially ahead of this Puma stuff or something like that. So thanks for hopping on, and we'll see you guys next week. It's Friday, so have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah.